The chief executive will first say a few words, and then the floor will be open. When you ask questions, please limit yourself to just 2 questions. Good morning. I'm happy to announce the following. Last week, after the China Manned Space Agency delegation visited Hong Kong, and next Tuesday to next Sunday, that is from the 12th to the 17th of December, another delegation of the C919 and HRJ21 will be visiting Hong Kong. These 2 planes are developed by our country, and it is an important milestone in terms of aviation engineering of the mainland. I welcome the inaugural visit of C919 and HRJ21. I also thank the country for their support. The Civil Aviation Department and the Hong Kong Airport Authority are in charge of this visit. These 2 planes will be exhibited at the Hong Kong airport, and next week on the 16th of December, a Saturday, these 2 planes will give a show above the Victoria Harbour for enjoyment by Hong Kong citizens. It is the first time for the 2 planes to visit anywhere outside of the country. It also demonstrates that the country attaches importance to Hong Kong. According to the 14th Five-Year Plan, the country supports Hong Kong's position as an international aviation hub, and we have been actively taking part in the certification of the C919 plane. And I feel encouraged by the Civil Aviation Department's participation in the certification process. Whilst C919 and ARJ21 are in Hong Kong, youth groups will be allowed to attend the exhibition upon registration. There will also be a briefing session for the youth groups. I believe this will enhance young people's understanding of the development of the aviation industry in the mainland. Now, the other event I'd like to walk you through is an event called Priority Asia Summit, held by the FII, Future Investment Institute of Saudi Arabia. I welcome this event. Political and economic leaders, as well as investors, will be coming to Hong Kong to attend the Future Investment Initiative. And they will be discussing how we will meet the global challenge against a backdrop of economic uncertainties. The FII has chosen Hong Kong as the premier stop for the Asia Summit. It also shows how much importance the FII attaches to Hong Kong as the connector. Richard Attias, the chief executive of FII, told the media that Hong Kong has returned to its vibrancy, and Hong Kong is the best gateway to Asia. Now, a number of international events will be held in December to promote our 8 positions. For example, there is a series of events that will take place starting from Hong Kong, including one called the Asia INT Oscar Award. There is also another major event relating to the insurance sector. Last week, an internationally renowned fashion brand held a hugely successful fashion show in Tsim Sha Tsui Promenade, using the nightscape and Victoria Harbour as the backdrop. This fashion show demonstrates Hong Kong's position as an international city. It also showcases our charm as well as our importance to the global stage. According to the CEO of this fashion brand, Hong Kong is a metropolis. Many enterprises have continued to cast a vote of confidence in Hong Kong. When it comes to casting your vote, I appeal to everyone in Hong Kong once again that at the upcoming District Council ordinary election polling day, that is the December 10th, do cast your vote to return your favorite candidate. Day in, day out, we live in the community. We want to see improvement in our living conditions. We want to see cleaner streets, and we want our journey to work or to school to be more convenient. We want to have nicer markets as well as parks. So the district council election is related to all of us. We all have our preferences. Do cast your vote to return candidates whom you think will help you. In fact, street booths, election forums have been held in the past week to canvass support from electors. This Saturday, December the 9th, the government will hold the District Council Election Fund Day. Apart from events being held at various waterfront promenades, government venues and museums will also be open for free admission. A major outdoor concert will be held at the West Kowloon Cultural District. 7 media outlets will be broadcasting this concert live. At Sharton Park and another location, satellite venues will be set up. These venues will be used to broadcast the outdoor concert at WKCD. There will also be other performance shows and events. The government will announce details about the ticketing arrangements in due course. As for the polling hours of the District Council ordinary election, it will go from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. I will, of course, go to the polling station with my wife that morning. I also appeal to voters to attend the polling station early, perhaps after your morning tea or after lunch. The polling stations will run all the way till 10:30 p.m. So please join your family members and cast your vote on the polling day. The floor will be open for questions. Please raise your hand if you want to ask questions. And when you're called, please introduce a media outlet and please limit yourselves to 2 questions.
The gentleman at the front. Good morning, Chief Executive. I'm from Cable TV. I'd like to ask about Agnes Chow. She said the conditions for her to leave Hong Kong is that she has to become accompanied by national security officers to Shenzhen. Can you confirm that this had happened, and based on which law or power that the national security officers were able to do that? And do you apply the same conditions to other people on bail? My second question is about the Social Welfare Department subsidizing social welfare organizations to provide coach services to accompany elderly people to cast their vote on the election day. Will there be mechanism for the government to ensure that the election is held in a fair and impartial manner? Thank you. The SAR government would spare no effort to hunt anyone who has endangered national security. Ms. Agnes Chow was arrested because she was suspected of endangering national security. She jumped bail and absconded, so the police will pursue her for life. Any fugitives will be pursued for life. I won't discuss the details of the case here. As we pursue the relevant fugitives, whether the relevant information will be used as evidence, I'll leave it for the police to decide. No one should use excuses for their behaviors of violating the law, or the police tried to take a lenient approach, but in return, the police were deceived. The police will take stock of this experience and ensure that it could keep law and order and combat any acts of collusion with foreign forces. I see that there are people who have underestimated the threat of foreign forces on our country's security. In this case, there is suspected acts of collusion with foreign forces. These people who collude with foreign forces are foreign agents. They interfere or meddle with Hong Kong's affairs. We cannot forget what happened in 2019 when blacklight violence took place. It caused a huge wound to the city. We cannot forget this pain. We have to push for legislation of Article 23 of the Basic Law. Next year, we will complete the legislative exercise to ensure that Article 23 can work alongside with the national security law, and that we can implement an improved law system to ensure national security. Also, on the question of provision of coach services to people who would like to cast their vote, such services may be provided by elderly centers, and this is to help relevant citizens to fulfill their civic duty and obligation of casting their votes. People with special needs at the polling station, we will assist them. That's our usual practice. These arrangements will not affect the voting behavior of electors or their choices or preferences. We are just helping them to fulfill their civic duties and provide convenience to them. The gentleman on the left.
English questions from the South China Morning Post. With the first question regarding the case of Agnes Chow, can the government confirm that a repentance letter and a trip to the mainland were used as conditions for Chow to leave the city? How would the government see criticisms about authorities bringing the measure adopted in the mainland to Hong Kong? And would this be a norm among national security law offenders? With regards to the district council election, the government over the past week has been rolling out various measures to publicize the polls. Does it reflect the government's concern over a potential low turnout over the race? And would you agree that if the turnout is indeed very low, it might affect the legitimacy of the polls? Thank you.
The Hong Kong SL government will spare no effort in pursuing justice to bring fugitive offenders who are involved in endangering national security offenses to justice. NS Chow, who was arrested by the police for suspected involvement in the offense of collusion with a foreign country or with external elements to endanger national security. Now that she has claimed to plan to jump bail and abscond from Hong Kong, the police will do their utmost to pursue her, to arrest her. Fugitives will be pursued for life unless they turn themselves in. I do not intend to talk about the details of the case because when the fugitive is arrested, the details of the case will become evidence of the case. I'll leave that to the law enforcement agencies. Fugitives' blatant disregard of police bail terms and abscond bail show that the fugitive is completely devoid of integrity. The attempt to put forward excuses and to deceive and win sympathy is a complete disgrace. It shows that the fugitive is a liar, is a hypocrite. The police attempt to give lenient treatment has resulted in complete deception. I believe those involved who try to afford leniency must find this utterly disappointing. The police will consolidate experience and ensure that the effective protection of the law and order and fight any collusion with foreign forces and safeguard national security. I observe that some people in Hong Kong still underestimate the threat posed by foreign forces to national security. The fugitive this time is suspected of colluding with foreign countries or external forces to endanger national security. Those who committed the crime of collusion have become foreign agents. They have betrayed the trust of Hong Kong people. They have betrayed the interests of Hong Kong. Hong Kong people must not ignore the interference of foreign forces in Hong Kong. They do it for their own political interests. They have not stopped. Hong Kong must not forget the pain that we all had, despite the fact the wounds of the 2019 riots and violence have somehow healed, but the pain should remain in our memory. Therefore, the legislative exercise for Article 23 of the Basic Law must proceed with our full strength. The legislative exercise will be completed next year to ensure that Article 23 legislation that we then enact, together with the Hong Kong National Security Law, will form a solid national security legal system to improve the overall legal and enforcement mechanism to safeguard national security. As regard the election on the coming Sunday, 10th of December, it is an important election because district council members will be serving those who live in that district. Each one of us live in one of those 18 districts. So it is important for us to vote for the district council members who you believe will do what you want him to do or her to do. It affects your personal well-being, It affects the environment. It will help building the right facilities for the district. It will facilitate communication between people of that district with the government. It will help improving environment. It will help traffic. It will help how we buy things in the marketplace and how obstruction can be cleared and where the hygiene standard meets our requirement. I encourage everybody to vote. The more people that come out to vote, the better. The quality of the election will be reflected by the quality of the candidates that will eventually be elected and come out to serve the district. We're talking about a whole process to ensure that we have the best quality for the people of Hong Kong. So in each step of the process, the voting and the counting of votes and the conduct of the actual voting on the day, and eventually the performance of the elected council members will all count to show the quality of the election.
時間關係。
In the interest of time, we will take the last question for this morning. If you want to ask questions, please raise your hand and please introduce the media outlet you represent before you speak. This one in white. I'm from Dot News. A 38-year-old male was suspected of breaching the electoral law by inciting others not to vote. There is a rumor circulating online that one should put 2 ticks in the same ballot paper instead of 1 tick. Now, will the government focus on publicizing the voting method in the future? The other question is this: will the government consider rolling out a new round of night vibes? What events will be included? Chief Executive, you may answer in Cantonese. Thank you. Anyone inciting another person to cast an invalid vote or not to vote is in breach of the electoral law. The law enforcement agency, that is the ICAC, will take rigorous enforcement action. Let me warn anyone who'd like to sabotage this election once again of this fact. I also remind every voter to fulfill their civic duty and cast your vote to return your favorite candidate, because they relate to your day-to-day activities in the community. Anyone who incites another person not to vote or cast an invalid vote will be in breach of the law. Hong Kong citizens should not take part in any incitement. Instead, they should fulfill their civic duty and cast their votes. The government will organize a series of events under the Night Vibes initiative so as to promote night economy. We started from scratch. We yielded very good results. Some operators told us that their businesses had gone up by folds under the Night Vibes initiative. It is a success, and we will continue with it. Each round, we want to make it more attractive. From now to next year, a series of Night Vibes events will be held. Some of them will be held before, during, and after Christmas, New Year. Leveraging on the favorable atmosphere, we'd like to encourage members of the public to actively participate in the Night Vibes events. Meanwhile, in terms of economic activities in Hong Kong, including the various Night Vibes events and other daytime events, the objective of these events is to build a positive atmosphere to encourage wider participation. Whether you're in the catering, retail, tourism industries, etc., you all have a role to play because Hong Kong is our home. We want to bring vibrancy to Hong Kong so that the people are happy, so that our events will be a success. There are competitors around the world. We must be able to showcase the agility, flexibility, creativity of Hong Kong people to them. We need to have confidence in ourselves. We're on long-term competition with others, and we need to be able to show others that Hong Kong is an attractive place. That is why we need participation from different sectors to bring more vibrancy, diversity to our events so that we can adopt different themes for enjoyment by locals and tourists alike. We need to consider how we can enhance our services, how we can be more hospitable to tourists to give them the best experience. And that means all sectors should join hands with the government so as to demonstrate our resilience, our creativity, our charm, and our fine tradition. That means Hong Kong is a successful city. Hong Kong is a city that welcomes tourists so that tourists will have the best time of their stay here. This is the impression we should give to tourists from around the world, that we are an international city full of vibrancy. That's the end of today's press briefing.